What's going on, all my loyal Dragonites? Out in the Dragon Den, King of Dragons 5000 is back with another action figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Bandai SH Figuarts Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett. Getting Boba Fett out of the packaging, we are greeted with several different accessories. Starting with his head, we do get 3 different head sculpts, including an helmeted head, a neutral unhelmeted head, as well as a grimacing unhelmeted head. He also does come with several sets of hands, including a pair of fists, a pair of trigger finger hands, a pair of grip hands, a pair of style pose hands, and a pair of hands for holding the weight of his weapons. He also does come with his jetpack, which has 2 different rockets. We get Boba Fett's rocket and Cobb Vanth's rocket, as well as some thruster effects for his jetpack and a launching effect for the missiles. Boba Fett also does come with his signature carbine rifle, which looks really nice. We get his blaster, as well as an empty holster and a holster that has the blaster in it. We of course get his gaffy stick, which looks really nice, and his final accessory is his throne, which looks very good. Bandai spared no expense on this throne. It has a lot of nice paint apps, great detail, even the seat has some detail sculpted onto it, so it's a very, very impressive throne. Other than that, Boba Fett doesn't come with any other accessories, so with that out of the way, let's move on to his details. So having a closer look at Boba Fett's details, we are greeted with a beautiful sculpt and painted figure. Here we have his helmet, which is done very nicely. The greens and the reds look very nice, and you can see some distress marks with some scratching on his armor, which looks really good. As far as his unhelmeted head goes, the sculpt is very good. However, I do feel like the paint is very thin on both the heads. They could have added a little more paint just to give him a more lively appearance. Moving down to his body, we are also welcome to a very nicely detailed set of armor where it's a really nice shade of green. Bandai did a really good job choosing the green that they went with, and it looks very good on this figure. He does have your standard distress marks that you can see throughout the figure, so some of that silver is peeking out through the green. His armor is so nicely detailed that you can see some insignias on the inside of those slits on his left breastplate, and then we do have his insignia on the right breastplate. Taking a look at Boba Fett's shoulder pads, they're done very nicely. The shade of orange on them is good. On the left side we do have the Mythosaur insignia, and on the right side we just have some wear and tear on it, which looks good. Boba Fett's gauntlets are also nicely detailed. On the left side we do have his rocket launcher, which looks good. The wear and tear on it is also fantastic. The detailing on it is spot on. And on the right side we are greeted with his flamethrower and other attachments, where you can see he does have some tubes running from the gauntlet to the shoulder. I would be careful with these because they are a soft rubber and they do get in the way of articulation, so be very cautious on how you move these. Moving on to Boba Fett's belt, he does have a really nice belt where you can see some rounds on one side of his belt and some pouches on the other. And going to the other side of his belt, we are greeted by a lot of good detail, so Bandai has done an exceptional job here. He does have his holster holding his blaster on his right side. Now you do get an alternate piece which can have the holster out. I would have preferred a working holster rather than interchangeable parts. Boba Fett's tunic is done in soft fabric, so I really like the fact that Bandai used fabric for his tunic, and it is frayed at the bottom, so it does look like there's some wear and tear on it. His pants are of course just black. We have a pouch on the left leg, and then we do have the black pants going all the way down to his knees, where he does have his knee pads, which have really nice sculpt work. The dart launches on both of them look really nice, and I do like the fact that they are 2 different sculpts and not the same mirrored image. And finally, having a look at Boba Fett's spats, they are done in this reddish brown color, which is accurate to the show. In Book of Boba Fett he went from the blue to the red spats, so this is accurate, and I do like the way they cover his shoes. They look really nice, and the paint work is phenomenal. They do have some wash through them, so there is some detail on it. So with Boba Fett's details out of the way, let's actually get him compared to other figures you may have in your collection. Getting Boba Fett posed to our usual suspects, we have Boba Fett posed next to the Marvel Legends Cyclops, the DC Multiverse Superman, a WWE Elite Scale figure, the Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man, the Lightning Collection White Ranger, the Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian, and of course we have him posed next to the Tython Armored Boba Fett and the Throne Room Boba Fett from Black Series. So with the comparisons out of the way, guys, let's move on to Boba Fett's articulation. Boba Fett's articulation includes a double ball joint in the head as well as a secondary ball joint in the neck. Boba Fett does have a butterfly joint as well as a ball socketed shoulder, which does allow his arm to move out to the side and goes around for a full 360. Boba Fett does have a well hidden bicep swivel as well as a single joint in the elbow. We have a ball hinge in the wrist, which does allow for some vertical and horizontal movement, and it rotates on that pin. Boba Fett has a ball joint in the lower torso, which does allow him to move back and forward, side to side, and that does compensate rotation as well. Boba Fett's hips allow his legs to kick forward as well as kick back, and they do go out to the side slightly. Unfortunately, Boba Fett only has a single joint in the knee, so we don't get too much range out of that. And finally, Boba Fett does have a ball joint in the ankle, which does allow for some forward and back mobility as well as side to side pivot, some slight rotation in that ankle, and then finally we do get a toe joint. So with Boba Fett's accessories, his details, comparisons, and articulation out of the way, let's move on to my final thoughts on Boba Fett. So having a final look at Boba Fett, I have to say that Bandai has done a really good job with this figure. Now, there are some things to like about this figure and some things not to like about this figure. Talking about some of the positives, the detailing on Boba Fett is really good. All the distress marks on his Beskar armor line up to what they look like on the show, so I do have to give Bandai credit for that. He looks very good, and the shade of green that they use for his armor is spot on. I really do like it. I also like the soft goods that they put on his little tassels right here. They did a really good job making the edges look frayed, so overall really nice detailing on Boba Fett. Another thing I gotta give Bandai credit for is the throne. They did a really good job painting and molding this throne. It's one of the better accessories that I've seen from Bandai, and it is a very, very nice piece to have. Just having Boba Fett sitting on it, that could be your centerpiece for your Star Wars collection, because it's a very, very well done throne, and I am really glad that Bandai was able to include it with this figure. Now talking about some of the negatives on this figure, starting with the head sculpts, I feel like the unhelmeted heads for Boba Fett are done fairly well. The paint is just very, very soft on them. It feels like the paint is fading on the heads, which kind of does take away from the figure overall. That's one thing I kind of wish, is that they added a little more paint to the head sculpts. Another thing I feel like this figure suffers from is over engineering. There's a lot of things that this figure does wrong in terms of engineering, such as having the additional parts for the jetpack, having the empty holster and the holster with his blaster. It could have been done so much differently, and that's one issue that Star Wars Black Series doesn't have, is over engineering. I know the SH Figuarts line is known for over engineering this Star Wars figure. Boba Fett here is no exception. So if you can look past the over-engineering on this figure, I think Boba Fett here is done very well. The accessories on him work, and I do like the overall throne that he comes with. I think that's the main selling point of this figure, is that very gorgeous throne that Boba Fett can sit in, and I am really glad that one company was able to make a throne for Boba Fett. Now for the price point, Boba Fett here will set you back $120, which that seems like a lot, but you gotta take into consideration the licensing and the big throne that we get with Boba Fett. I do feel like he is worth the price. He's $120 on sites like AmiAmi and Hobby Link Japan. If you do get him imported, he will run you anywhere from $140 all the way to $160, so it really depends on where you want to pick up your Boba Fett. So overall, I do recommend Boba Fett if you're a fan of the Book of Boba Fett or just want a really nice Boba Fett in your collection. With that being said, my loyal Dragonites, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other SH Figuarts videos as well as all my other Star Wars videos. Hopefully there's something you'll find. Hopefully you find my videos informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, videos, and other goodies. And as always, ring that bell to be notified anytime I upload a video. Until next time, my loyal Dragonites, from the Dragon Den, I'm KingofDragons 5000, and I'll see you later.